I've been cooking a lot of meals with my husband during the pandemic. We've hardly had takeout, just a small handful of times. And that means I put a lot of effort into the dinner. I mean, once you go to the grocery store and then you got to clean the groceries and then you actually prepare something, put it on the table, it's a lot of work. So you don't want to mess it up.
No, that's the one thing that strikes fear in the heart of me. If I mess it up, I'm going to have to go back and spend all the money I've spent 3 times more than the takeout. This is why we have Victoria Sophia here. She's here to stop us from ruining everything we make. She's a lifestyle expert, and she's joining us from New York City. It's great to have you.
Wow.
I'm glad to be back with you guys, and I'm going to try to help you with your mistakes in the kitchen. But, if you make them, don't feel so bad. We're all trying right now. So, there are some that you can easily avoid, and that way you don't feel like you spent really long time making like a great recipe and then it came out terrible.
Yeah,
So
see,
this is a couple of things that I thought might be helpful.
we're all like one bad little tiny thing away from having a nervous breakdown. So let's try to avoid that, considering the past year we've had, heaven forbid we put too much milk in or just not enough salt. Tell us the cooking mistakes we should avoid. Number 1.
Okay, the first one is forgetting to read the recipe before you start to cook. That will mean that you miss an ingredient when you're cooking. I know everyone has at least watched one cooking show ever. So this is a phrase that you'll remember, mise en
Mise en
place.
place.
It means that everything is in its place.
Yep.
If you do that before you start cooking, it means that you won't forget an ingredient that you thought you had. It means that you'll have everything there that you need within reach and you have the right amount for it. And if you read the recipe, you'll be able to look up cooking terms that you don't know. You don't have to go to culinary school to be able to read a recipe, but sometimes there are terms that you don't know. So you can look them up. It'll give you some options of, maybe this recipe isn't something I can do tonight because we only have an hour to get it ready. We need something a little quicker. But the idea is to read that recipe before you start cooking to make sure you have all the ingredients and there's nothing that can go wrong in the middle of you cooking. Because that's the first thing. If you don't have cream, you don't have butter, you thought you had enough salt.
Right, Victoria. No, I was just interjecting. It sounds really simple, read the directions before you start, but it's really profound because I make that mistake over and over. I am classic for starting a recipe and realizing I do not have one ingredient, and it's like when you don't have butter and it's key and then you're substituting and then things get thrown off. So girl, I've been there. So
It's
preparation.
a completely different recipe. Yes.
Totally.
So then
It
the
also
second
causes
one is
you.
not.
Yeah, no, I was going to move on to the second one. Has to do with the pan. Go ahead.
Yeah, so not letting the pan get hot enough before you add the food. It sounds crazy, but I guess we're in a rush. We're starting to cook dinner or lunch, whatever the meal is, and we're thinking, okay, we'll just put the pan on the stove. No, we need to make sure that it gets hot. Otherwise, your food's going to stick. The meat won't brown. The same thing is for your oven. Make sure you preheat that oven. It has to get warm before you add everything, or else it's really not going to cook at the temperature that you want it to for the best result.
Gotcha. Okay. Speaking of pans, so I have like an 8-inch pan and then a 10-inch pan. Why do I have like practically the same size pan but just slightly? Is there a right and wrong pan to be using?
No, there isn't. But I think for the food that you're cooking, you need to make sure you have the right pan. So using the wrong pan size is a problem.
Okay.
So the heat won't be distributed evenly throughout, and you need to leave room. So think about when you were a kid and you didn't want your food touching. You have to do that. You have to make sure that your food doesn't touch when it's cooking, so that way there's room for the heat to be distributed evenly. Just think of it as like when you buy a bag of frozen French fries, because we've all done this. Maybe you don't want to cop to it, but then you have to put it on like a sheet pan, and then you try to just dump all of it, or like all those onion rings you buy from the freezer section, you dump them all on there, and you think they're going to cook properly. No, half of them are going to be, still frozen or not as well cooked as the others because they're on top. You have to make everything even, whether it's a pan, a skillet, a sheet pan. Those are the things that we have to do to make sure that the heat's evenly distributed.
Nice. And what about, just giving things a taste as you go along so that you can see how things are cooking?
This is my favorite. I feel like sometimes people don't taste their food as they go because they want it to be a mystery. But I think the food is for our family. It's for us. It's for our friends, whoever we're cooking for. So let them be left in the mystery. And we need to find out if the flavors are good. Maybe it's too salty. There's not enough flavor. The textures aren't balanced. They're not, correct the way that they should be. The only way you're going to find that out is if you're choosing to take a spoon and taste your food. You have to do it throughout the recipe while it's cooking, or else you'll never know. and then you're sitting down to the table. The food looks great because you followed all the other rules, and then you're tasting it, and it's you could have saved it if you knew in advance.
Gotcha. And one last thing, this is something that I see so often, especially when you're on the grill. But people, the overturners, the ones that are like trying to cook it just by like the heat of the friction of spinning it 5,000 times and not even letting it touch the pan.
There was one movie that we all watched, or one TV show that we all watched, that we saw somebody at the grill and they kept turning the food over and over because they thought it would cook better, it would be even, it would be great. They wanted to show off that they're manning the grill. And then we brought it all into the kitchen because if you turn the food too often, it loses breading. It never gets a good sear. It doesn't brown if you move it too much. So, I mean, we all feel the need to check on it because of whatever show that was. I wish somebody could tell me. But when we're in the kitchen, you turn things once, especially like pancakes. Think of it like that. You turn it once and then it's done.
Yep.
So make sure that you leave it the amount of time it needs to be on each side. These recipes are great. Whatever they tell you, like follow it to a T. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why they tell you to put vegetables in at this time, garlic sauteed at this time. Just follow it the way it is. So when you think you need to turn it, make sure it's the right timing. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm laughing because it's a great show of what kind of personality you are. If you have to overman your food, over control your food, it's hilarious. There's a lot more to this. We're going to try to check those recipes ahead. Thanks for joining us from Manhattan. And we're happy to see that you're a Gilmore's Girl fan. Kind of cool. The poster behind you.
I definitely am. I love Gilmore Girls.
Don't be, if we've learned anything today, don't be an overturner. And if you want to watch these tips again from Victoria Sophia, you go to our website, LasVegasMorningBlend.com.